Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Julia Levesque, and today I have my husband Josh here with me today.
Hi guys.
I have been getting a few questions. What?
She's been getting a few questions in the comments
I know.
about our relationship, how we began dating, and what sort of our dating story was.
Yes, so I thought, why not sit down here and make a quick little video and tell you guys about it. It's not too elaborate, it's actually very short. Our dating window was very, very short, and so was our engagement time. But we'll just talk about the dating and give you guys the background into that. It is pretty interesting, just the workings going on behind the scenes and the pushing and the nudging that it took on, for me actually. But okay, we'll jump right into it. So let's go back to July of 2017. I was brand new to Maine. I think I'd only been here for about a year. I moved from Alaska to here. All of my family lives here, so hence why I moved. And I was working full-time. I had a 40-hour-a-week job, and I was wanting to pay off some credit card debt. I had an MBA student loan that I was going to need to pay off, and I thought, why not get a side job, a part-time job that I can just work at night and kind of get a jump start on paying off those loans. So my sister was actually working at a really nice restaurant in the area. She was making great money in tips. She was working the holidays, but on the holidays she was making a lot of money. So I was like, you know what, it's perfect. I could just work nights. It seems like it could be rather flexible, even though I knew I would have to work the holidays. It was a small sacrifice to pay, and at the time I was single. I didn't have a family other than my immediate family, so I was like, you know what, it works out. So I had gone and I had asked if they were hiring, and it was actually my husband's family who owned the restaurant, and they had owned it for,
At that point, we had owned it for probably about 12 years.
right. So I remember walking around the bar, and my sister actually went with me and kind of introduced me to his mom and was just kind of there for moral support. So she had asked me, she's like, you know, have you ever bartended before? I was like, nope. Have you ever waited tables before? Nope. All right, do you have any experience in the restaurant business? No, I don't, but I'm a quick learner, and if you give me a chance, I think I would be really good at this. She's like, all right, this is when you're hired. So I started probably within 2 weeks, because I actually had to go up to Alaska for a friend's wedding like the next week. So I started, and
I remember that was quite a resume, or quite a application, because you came in looking for a job and said, well, I can't start until after next week. So
yeah. Well, then again, I really didn't think I was going to get it because I had no restaurant experience whatsoever. It was brand new to me, but why not, right? So I started, and when we were starting to work together, it was like the most time we spent talking was when I would walk in and I would say, hi, how are you? He would ask me the same, and then at the end of the night, I don't even think we said goodbye most nights, because we would leave at different times depending on when my shift ended.
And just to give a little bit of background, I worked both as a prep cook, a line chef, and as a bartender, and a manager, depending upon the night. So if I was in the kitchen working, I would end up staying much later than Julia, because the dining room staff would be done long before the kitchen was done cleaning up. So we didn't really see each other all that much, other than in passing, or saying you forgot to put this order in, or she would come in saying that she needed something that wasn't on the order when it went out. But when I was out front bartending or managing, we actually did get to talk a little bit, but it was more just friendly banter and how are you doing, and random topics of conversation that may come up while I was making drinks for her customers.
That we would talk a little bit if you were catching me out at the end of the night and giving me my tips.
True.
And that was just being friendly because he was giving me my money. So go back to September, like probably beginning and middle of September. Again, it's hard to pinpoint what time because everything just happened so quickly. So beginning and middle of September, his mom and I really clicked for some reason, and looking back now, obviously it's because it was God's plan that I marry into this family.
And because she's a wonderful woman.
Are you talking about me or your mom?
Yes.
His mom and I started talking a lot, actually, and we would have really good conversations, and for some reason I was just really comfortable with her, and I got the feeling that she was kind of pushing me towards talking to Josh and just giving him a chance and going out on a date with him. And mind you, like I didn't want any of that. How old was I? I was 23 at the time. So I was like, I'm in school. I am brand new to Maine. We work together. It would be really weird if it didn't work out because I still want to work at this restaurant. Like these are all the thoughts I was having internally. And she never came out and directly asked me at that point. So I was just pushing those thoughts aside, and I thought, no, you're just being silly, Julie. Like, this isn't what she's wanting. So now my grandmother, my Mimi, I would always have lunches with her during my lunch break throughout the week from work, and her and I would have great conversations. She and I would talk about what I wanted in a husband, a family, anything biblical.
Future, general plans.
Yeah, just like general plans. We would have really in-depth, deep conversations. And she actually knew my mother-in-law from a different means other than the restaurant.
It was a private enterprise that
Yeah.
they met each other through.
Yeah, so she knew about Josh because her and my mother-in-law kind of got together and was like, Julie and Josh would just be perfect for each other. We really need to push them towards each other and just like work at it. So she was kind of nudging me a little bit without directly saying you need to give Josh a chance, because for my personality, like if you tell me to do something directly, like I'm not gonna do it. I'm that stubborn. It's not a good trait to have. It can be, but it's not. So she was kind of nudging me as well, and then my mom was kind of very silently and subtly, more subtle than my mother-in-law and my grandmother, working on me as well. And this is the part where I kind of mess it up, so I'm gonna let Josh tell the story.
There was, if you didn't figure it out, there was a lot of meddling by parents and grandparents in our pre-relationship, but it all worked out in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So what had happened was the first time that Julia's mother had actually seen me, we both happened to be attending the same church. My family, I was at church with my family, and I was a few pews ahead of Julia's family. Mm-hmm. And Julia, I don't believe, was actually there that day.
No, I wasn't there because at that time my family was still quote unquote church shopping. We hadn't found a home church yet, and I know for a fact I wasn't there for whatever reason.
So Julia's mom happened to see me a few pews ahead and said in an offhanded comment to Julia's, I was going to say Julia's sister, I didn't know if you had actually used her name, that guy, indicating towards the back of my head, would be perfect for Julia. Now, mind you, we had never met. I wasn't even aware that they were there, but it was just, the way that I heard the story, it was she had a mom instinct, and
Never doubt the mother's instinct.
She was very convicted about it. And then as time went on, it just so happened that the families ended up working together, and we did end up eventually meeting through the story that Julia's telling now.
Yes. So all of that was going on beforehand and during. Again, it took a lot of meddling, and it took a while to kind of work. It was mainly on my heart. So end of September.
Well, third week of September.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, end of September. This part kind of makes me giggle every time I think of it. It's the end of the night, and Josh had already cashed all of the waitresses out. Everybody else had pretty much gone home by this point. It was a late night. I think it was a Saturday.
It was
a Saturday night. So our last seating was, of course, later, and it was packed. So it took a while to clean up and everything and get cashed out. And I have all of my tips, and Josh and I by that point, we were talking a bit more, and we were getting more comfortable with each other. And I would say
still nothing serious or deep, but we would talk about church and stuff, but nothing.
Yeah. I would say we were close acquaintances.
Yeah.
We never talked via text or pretty much outside of that.
Outside of work.
Yeah, outside of that work. And I have my tips. I'm cashing out. I'm putting my hours in and everything. And girls, if you know what I'm about to say, then you know. You get a gut feeling that a guy is about to ask you out. So you babble if you really don't want him to ask you out. and you just start babbling, and you never let a moment of silence happen whatsoever. So that was me. I had this gut feeling, I'm like, he's gonna ask me out, and I really don't want to go out with him.
Ouch.
Yes. I was like, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, we work together. What if it didn't work out? Because back in Alaska, I had a reputation of just kind of being a man-eater.
You had a nickname, didn't you?
It was man-eater and ice queen. I was kind of picky with guys and what I wanted, because I knew as soon as I found the guy that I was going to marry, that God had picked out for me, I would know right away. And I would briefly date people, and I would just be like, yeah, I'm sorry, it's not working out, and I would just, be done with it. So, anyways, I was really hoping he wasn't going to ask me out, so I'm talking and talking and talking,
and she has never stopped talking since.
Yes. And a moment of silence, not even a moment of silence happened. I think I accidentally asked him a question.
You took a breath.
Okay, I took a breath.
I seized the moment.
And he seized the moment. And by that point, I was done clocking out. I had all my money. I was ready to go. Like, I had my coat on because it was getting cold, and I was ready to walk out.
You were walking out. You were skittering to the door.
And what did you ask? What did you say?
I asked if you'd like to get lunch sometimes in a non-committal way,
Or
even if it was just to get to know each other better,
or see
not
a movie.
as a date.
Or see a movie.
I don't even think I said movie. I think it was just I asked you to lunch.
Maybe it was that. And let me tell you what, I had never in my life said no thank you and walked away and bolted to my door as fast as I did that night. And I literally just left him in my dust. I didn't look back to see what his reaction was. I didn't say anything after.
You didn't even give me time to react. By the time the last syllable left your mouth, you were already out the door.
Yes. And I was petrified to go into work my next shift, because I'm like, he's going to make this so incredibly awkward, and there goes a potential friendship. Yeah. What were your thoughts after I quickly denied you?
My thoughts were, before I'd asked you out, I kind of thought that we were maybe heading in that direction. And I sincerely, when I asked you to have lunch, it wasn't meant to be a date. It wasn't necessarily going anywhere romantic. It was in my mind, it was best case scenario, we find that we have a lot in common. Maybe a relationship starts. Worst case scenario, she gets a free meal and we become better friends.
Yes.
So in my mind, it was like, why would she say no to this? I'm not putting any pressure, any expectations. It's a midday meal when I'd meet her from her other job, her main job, so there would be no awkward goodbye. It was already built in that she would just be going back to work. So I thought it was perfect. I thought it was a foolproof way to ask her to lunch.
Well, looking back now, it really was, but...
I had thought it out.
Yes, and looking back, I was definitely scared of dating, because I knew I wanted to date to marry. I didn't want to just casually date. That wasn't the upbringing I had. Growing up in a Christian home, it was always, when you date, you need to take it very seriously, because you're looking for a potential spouse to raise a family with, and you need to make sure that that spouse is a godly man who is going to be a godly and great father. So,
before you go any further, I want to cut in a
Yeah.
little bit of backstory. Julie was actually planning on moving back to Alaska.
Yes.
In the coming spring. We're in. This is taking place in mid to late September, and she had actually talked to me, or told me before I asked her out, that she was planning on going back to moving back permanently to Alaska. I think it was in March or something like that. So again, that also added to my thought of, well, odds are it's not going to lead to anything, but she's awesome. I like talking to her. Worst case, we end up building a better friendship.
Yes. So, well, I went back to work my next shift, and surprisingly, it wasn't awkward at all. It was almost like nothing had happened, because we were that comfortable with each other, and he made it really caught my attention, because he didn't make it awkward, and he didn't hold that against me of turning him down, which it really caught my attention. And I was like, a regular normal guy probably wouldn't have done that. So I was like, did I make the wrong decision? Well, during this 2-week period, because this all happened, a lot happened within 2 weeks.
from the 2-week period she's talking about is day 1 would be the day after I asked her out to 2 weeks later. So
Yes.
that's the time period she's referring to.
Yes. Well, a few days after he had asked me out and I had pretty much rejected him, I was having
No, not pretty much. You did.
I did reject him. I was having lunch with Mimi, and
That would be her grandmother.
Yes,
if you
my
guys didn't
grandmother.
catch it earlier.
yes, and I was telling her, you know, Josh asked me out, and I don't know what he was thinking, but I quickly shot that down, and I really truly thought that she was going to be on my side and be like, oh yeah, you guys work with each other. That would be really weird if it didn't work out, and again, you would lose a potential friendship. No, that's not what happened at all. She gently and kindly lectured me on how great of a guy Josh was and how we would be perfect for each other and how she knows that Josh is the man that God had picked out for me. And I left that lunch like, oh my word, my grandmother just lectured me. I feel like I'm 4 years old and I'm getting yelled at by my mother. It was just...
You described it once as you felt shell-shocked because you just had no way of processing what you had heard from her.
Yeah, and it took me a few days to actually process what she was saying. I was like, oh my word, I don't know what just happened. I really thought she was going to be on my side. No.
And as another added little caveat, I believe I had only met her one time at this point. So down the road, you know, looking back when I heard this story, I was totally blown away that she had so much faith and so much commitment in me after meeting one time for like 20 minutes.
But you have to also remember his mom and my grandmother were also meeting occasionally and discussing us getting together. So she really knew that we were meant to be.
There's lots of meddling. Again,
Yes.
just to reiterate, lots of meddling.
Yes, so then a few days, actually it was closer to the end of the 2 weeks, his mom and I were talking and we were actually by the bar and she kept giving me this look. And she had been giving me this look for days now. And by that point I was done. I was like, oh my gosh, why is she giving me this look? I'm just gonna ask her. I'm like, why are you looking at me like this? If you're wanting to say something, I remember saying this, like, if you want to say something to me, you can just tell me. I'm not gonna get offended. I'm not gonna get upset. It's just you keep giving me this look and I don't know what you're meaning by it. And she this was all happening in front of Josh.
No, you were in a different. You were in the side.
No, but
room.
me saying that to your mom.
Oh, I
wasn't,
never heard you say that.
Oh, it was at the bar and he must have been cleaning his
I was
glasses.
probably restocking or something.
Yeah. So she took me to a separate room and
I just want to say before this part of the story finishes, I had made my peace with the rejection.
Yeah.
And was very happy and content to the fact also that the friendship hadn't become weird, or the coworkership hadn't been altered because of Julia turning me down.
Yeah.
And I think that we both managed to maintain a very professional adult, working relationship. And like you said, it hadn't affected that at all.
Yeah. We had moved on from that. We both had moved on and we were very comfortable with each other.
Yep.
We were okay with just a friendship
Yep.
and ignoring the fact that he asked me out and I turned him down. Luckily, no one else in the restaurant knew about it, so that was fantastic. So she took me into the other room and she kind of just stomped her foot a little bit, put her hands on her, just like, I just don't understand why you won't ask my son out and have coffee with him. Just give him a chance. And once again,
Gotta love mothers, right?
once again, within a 2-week period, I was shocked that someone was talking to me like this. Like, I'm a grown woman. Like, who are you to ask me why I won't go out with your son? Who do you think you are?
I don't come off great here having my mother trying to force someone to date me. But I
No.
swear to you, it was not something that I had talked to her about or set up.
Yeah.
So this was of her own volition. It was totally came as a surprise to me after the fact.
Yes. So by that point, I had been praying about it as well, and I was like, I was asking the Lord to work on my heart and to soften it because I knew I was scared, and I knew that wasn't any way. Our cat is playing with Eleanor's toy, and I knew that wasn't any way to behave and to act going into any other relationship, even if it wasn't with Josh. Just having that fear, it wasn't it. So I was asking the Lord to work on my heart, and I was like, you know what? Even if Josh is a person that you want me to be with, Just give me peace about it and just kind of let me know. Well, let me know twice. So we finished talking, and I don't even remember what I had said to her. So
I wish I could have been a fly on that wall to hear the whole conversation.
well, you really weren't all that far away, so I'm surprised you didn't hear.
I was
It got pretty loud. So she walked by Josh at the bar. Oh, I had said, fine, I'll give him a chance. I'll ask him out to lunch tomorrow. And this was on a Sunday. So it was pretty slow at the restaurant. So she walked by, gave Josh kind of like a, just you wait and see kind of look, like, I meddled, like moms do sometimes. And I got to the bar and just like casually having a conversation because I didn't want to come out and ask him right away if he wanted to go out to lunch. So I don't even know what we were talking about. Do you?
No, you
No.
finish your account of this because
Okay.
I have a different account of actually how
Oh.
this happened.
Okay, so this is
Different perspective.
so it's good that you're here. And after she walked by, kind of talked to him a little bit, and I was like, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow for lunch?" He's like, "Nothing. I think I'm working." It's like, "Well, do you want to have lunch? Your mom said that you could have that lunchtime off if you want to have lunch with me and there's a restaurant right across from my work, so I can easily go there and have as much time for actual lunch instead of the commute." And that's kind of it for how we initially started dating.
So I agree with it right up to the point where she walks up to the bar when I'm working.
Okay.
She did not come up and start a conversation. I was looking at my phone, leaning against the cooler because we were between seating, or it was before I think we even had customers in the restaurant. I was just getting the bar set up. And I was looking at my phone, and she came up and made her presence known by sort of semi-aggressively posturing and stomping her foot and to get my attention. And I looked up from my phone and looked at her and said, "What are you doing for lunch tomorrow?"
I don't think I said it like
You
that.
most certainly
Okay.
did. I said, I have nothing. Why? Do you want to have lunch with me? Yeah, I'd love to. Good. And off she went.
Very different.
I think you romanticized it a bit in your mind.
Maybe a little bit. I really thought we had a conversation.
Yeah.
After that.
Oh, afterwards, later in the day we did. But
No.
during that time, no, you were very cut and dry, very direct, very
But that's
let's
me.
get this over with
That's me.
sort of
though.
mentality, which made me feel really good because it felt like you were trying to do me a favor.
It wasn't a babe. It kind of was,
Mm.
but it kind of wasn't. So that is how we actually started dating. A lot of meddling that went on, a lot of prayer, a lot of softening my heart. And yeah, I don't think there was anything else. I think that was the only part that we have different memories on was after my mother-in-law and I talked, and I asked him out. And he likes to remind me that I shot him down and rejected him
I fully intend to tell our daughter that story.
multiple times. But, clearly everything worked out because, we've been married for almost 3 years now. We have a kid together.
We own a home.
Yeah, we own a
We're-
home. I put up with his farming hours.
Put up with.
I love that.
You love and embrace and enjoy
I fully
being a
embrace.
farm wife.
I fully embrace the farming life. 'Cause
This is what I'm. Before you guys think that I'm being abusive or controlling, I'm not. She has told me before that she loves being on the farm, but she
I
does
do.
like to remind me that during the summer and during harvest season in the fall, we don't really see much of each other because I do work a ridiculous schedule.
He sees more of his actual immediate family, like his parents and his brother, who he works with, more than he actually sees me.
For about 4 months out of the year.
Yeah, which is totally fine. I knew that's what the life was going to be when we got married.
I was gonna say I did try and warn you. I did not sugarcoat it when I was telling you what
No.
what my life was.
But that is it, you guys. If you want to know anything more, you can feel free to ask any questions down
Mhm.
below. I love answering them. I love hearing other people's dating stories and how they actually got together and what happened in between. I find them really interesting, so I hope you guys do
Yeah,
too.
maybe we can do a engagement and or wedding story. down the line.
Our engagement timeline is like January, February, March, April, May. 4 months.
Yeah.
We had a very quick engagement. I knew I wanted to marry him, and I was like, you know what? I don't want it to be next year. for various reasons. But, you know, we're Christian, we were saving ourselves for marriage, so I was like, it's got to be this year. So, yeah. I think that's it. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I think we pretty much covered it.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.